to the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty Podcast with Borg, Betz, and a baller.
Welcome back. It's Wednesday, October 16th here on the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Borganoni, and I am joined by Matthew Betz and Jason Moore.
I'm excited for this show, guys.
Yes, I echo exactly what you are saying. Today's episode is really, really cool, really valuable for Dynasty. Putting together basically my top 24 of rookies in order of from this day forward was a fun exercise where there's a couple different tier breaks of like this group versus that group, and it's like, where does this guy belong? And there's some good arguments to be had, I think, right off the bat, right at the beginning of the draft.
There are a couple players that, especially when we get to the second round, I feel like the second round is just a crap fest. I don't know if that's
I felt like there was like, I don't have it right in front of me, but there was like 12, 13, 14 players that have like any relevance, and then it's just vomit the rest of the players out in any order.
I tried to do, we did this exercise, and we're going to do it today in our rookie draft redo, but I was going back and thinking the last couple years, we often talk about how rookies gain steam in the second half. They're more, integrated in the game plan. And then this year we're seeing certain rookies that like, these are the dudes. But like, let's say we did this same task in 2021. And it's like, would Amon-Ra have been on this list at all?
Probably not at this point.
No, probably not. I mean, he would not be in the top picks for sure.
No,
yeah.
Because he didn't have his rookie year until like, week 12, 13, something like that?
Correct.
Which means, to your point, there will be players after in that yuckity-yuck area and beyond that will be valuable. In fact, there are a handful of players that I am choosing to not punish, and we'll get there later in that second round. I'm choosing to not punish for currently being injured. We haven't. There's at least 3 guys who I think are talented players who are worth being a good dynasty asset who have not played a snap of football yet.
There's a player that I am just so intrigued, just so intrigued because we've gotten such little, like the sample size is so small, and yet I'm back in. I'm back in.
I can't wait to go through this draft, but we'll get there when the time is right.
Yeah. So on this episode, like I mentioned, rookie draft redo, we're going to do a little weekly rewind, and if you want to go to fantasyfootballers.com, our ultimate dashboard, if you want to make sure that your league, your team is in tip-top shape, you can make sure that you're looking at it. I had some start-sit decisions in a league. While I was on vacation, I was like, you know what? I can't look at every single thing, all my teams. I can't do it. I can log in the dashboard, look at this really quickly because my mind was not on football this past weekend. I was at the beach, and I feel like I missed a ton. So I feel like there's things like for my team, I was like, please just help me out. And so I had some start-sits that really helped out.
For sure. I had the exact same experience, Kyle, because you were on the East Coast. I was on the West Coast doing the Disneyland trip with my family. And, man, the ultimate dashboard is so nice. Just going through, like, I wasn't sure if my starts were right, so I just looked and clicked through each team, and I was like, okay, I need to move this guy in, this guy out. Let me check the spot start tool because I wasn't, like, super-duper active on waivers. So I just, Sunday morning, I looked at all the leagues, and I just went to the spot start and said, is there anybody better on waivers than who's starting in my lineup? And there was one guy, and I'm like, oh, sweet, let me make that change, upgrade, win. And so, yeah, it's a great tool. Go to jointhefoot.com if you're not already a part of it. Joining up at jointhefoot.com, basically you have access to every single thing we do, every product, in-season, draft season, our extra episode of the main show, and like 100 tools and resources. But our flagship resource now is the Ultimate Dashboard, which is new this season.
Yeah, and one of those resources is a extra podcast. We have the Footcast, but also the Injury Blitz. And I did listen to that, Betz, because I missed so much information. And when it got to Saturday, I feel like there was a lot of start-sits and injured players that like I had no clue what their practice status was, and you do that every single Friday.
Yeah, that comes out Friday, right around like 5 or so Eastern is when I record it. Whenever
so
I get
you're done at like Saturday morning then,
basically.
Because this year the amount of injuries is like I assume this is like a 12-hour podcast.
It goes nonstop. I've actually never stopped recording it. Yeah, and I try to add a lot of stuff in there too that's like long-term outlook for Dynasty, but also like, here's what I'm looking at for the next, 3-4 weeks for guys coming off IR, or like who could be a candidate to go on IR, that type of stuff. So try to set you guys up for success, not only for like the week ahead, as far as like, in 2 days on Sunday, but also the next couple weeks. So yeah, that's out every Friday right around like 6 Eastern-ish or so, whenever the Deucers decide to do their work.
No. Did they do any work while we were gone, Jason? Because I've heard that they farted around a ton.
I have never seen them do work. Not while I'm here, not while we're away. This place is held up by pretty much the on microphone talent.
See, I feel very torn right now because as someone who's
just leave it.
All right, moving on.
Weekly Rewind.
Nothing happens behind the scenes here, Kyle. It's only what we present in front of the cameras, and you're part of that now.
Oh man, my heart hurts. My heart hurts so much.
I know. The people get the joke. But if you don't,
but also Josh doesn't do any work.
No, nothing. He doesn't do nothing. Just sits around, makes bad trade offers.
Yeah,
what a job.
I did feel that I put the weight of the world on Betz when I was out on Thursday and Friday. I said, oh, by the way, you got matchups? Because those are our heaviest shows on Thursday and Friday, and Betz took the weight of the world. So thank you, my friend. Sure. Every week, we rewind the film and do a deep dive on a player. This was really helpful for me this week because I watched some of the games. I was on the beach doing some Red Zone, which was kind of fun, just to have a drink on the beach, watch Red Zone. But also, there's a lot of just players that I missed, and so I wanted to go back. I watched a film of a bunch of different players, and we're going to kind of go through this process. So I'm going to jump in first because I watched every Drake Maye play because I didn't have a lot of players in that game. I kind of saw some numbers. I saw where he ended, and I was like, was he really this good? Was it somewhere in the middle? So I want to get y'all's reactions too. But Drake Maye, in his first start against Houston, threw for 243, 3 and 2 picks, but also ran for 38 on the ground. And I think coming into the season, we said this was in his bag, somebody that is more subtle as a runner and that they could totally use around the goal line. So I definitely saw some of that. I felt like their game plan in the first half was like super muted. Like it wasn't taking too many chances. And then when they had the 2-minute drill at the end of the first half is when he connected with Kayshon Boutte in that really long, just a beautiful, beautiful deep bomb pass. So I think overall my takeaways were lots of rookie mistakes. There was an early INT. He ends up making the tackle on that play. I'm like, dude, you're going to get killed out there. Had some other plays where Will Anderson of the Texans just was dominant as an edge rusher, but I think he can work through his progressions. That was my biggest takeaway is this isn't like one read, I'm locking onto a player, and that's the only thing. It was kind of like waiting for Demario Douglas to get open across the field, like actually looking at some of his different reads. So I was encouraged from his first start.
I was from a fantasy perspective because I do think he, like you said, he had rookie mistakes. This was not just a highlight show. Basically, it wasn't Jaden Daniels, who's just, looking pretty darn perfect. Had some problems, does not have a good offensive line, so he's going to deal with pressure all year long. But there were enough big, good plays and enough scramble running for, your life plays where I think for fantasy purposes, he's my stream of the week this week, going across the pond playing against Jacksonville Jaguars. And so I was very, very impressed for what I think the future is. I don't think it's going to be all sunshine and rainbows with this version of the Patriots. And so Drake Maye is one of those interesting names of where he, if we're redoing the rookie draft, and our rookie draft today will be non-super flex, so that it's not just all the quarterbacks at the top or whatever. This is single quarterback. Where would he go in those leagues? Because I think that's a more, you can argue that Superflex is a more challenging league, but as far as where quarterbacks should go, it's a more challenging proposition where you, shuffle them in with the running backs and wide receivers and single QB.
Yeah, I thought Drake Maye. Yeah, I thought Drake Maye's first game as a pro, his first game as a starter was kind of what you would expect, where it's like he put some stuff on tape where you're like, yep, that's the guy we saw at UNC. The ability to throw deep is what I loved about him, and his ability to run. 5 carries, 38 rushing yards. That's not nothing in fantasy. And will he ever be Jaden Daniels or Lamar Jackson? No, of course not. But can he be kind of this like tier 2, tier 3 type runner that gives you 20 yards here and there most weeks? Like, I think so. And behind this offensive line, like, that's going to go a long way as far as keeping drives alive, keeping the chains moving, that sort of thing. So I was pretty encouraged by Drake Maye. Obviously, it's going to be an up and down year just with the O-line and talent at wide receiver. But I think if you have him in Dynasty, like what you saw in week 1, you're like, okay, I'm at least excited to see what we have here moving forward. Obviously, this week against the Jaguars should be pretty fun as well.
Just to highlight that offensive line, they had 6 different offensive line combinations in 6 games, and they've allowed the highest pressure rate at left tackle, at corner, or at center, and at right guard in the NFL. So like 3 of the 5
So the
worst.
left is bad, the middle's bad, and the right is bad.
It's bad, and you can kind of see it on film. It's like he's getting blown up a couple times where he took some big hits. But I was encouraged overall with that. Betz, I'll let you go next.
Yeah, I wanted to highlight Scary Terry McLaurin, who, has been awesome with Jaden Daniels. And not surprisingly, it's kind of gone hand in hand with Jaden Daniels and how well he's played. But over the last 4 weeks, I went back, over this insane stretch that the offense has been on, and Terry specifically has been on. He's had 21 catches for 317 yards, 4 touchdowns on 31 targets. And over the last couple weeks, every time I'm watching him, there's so many catches where I'm like, that's not very catchable. And then all of a sudden he comes down with it, or it's a contested catch and I'm like, there's no way he's coming down with this one. And on the boundary, somehow he catches it. And so when I look at this, I was like, man, a lot of these seem like low percentage catches. Like, there's not a ton of separation here. I wonder how sustainable this is going to be. And I went back and looked at the numbers with some of this stuff. It kind of lines up. Per Next Gen Stats, 30% of his targets have been deemed tight window throws. Per PFF, he's caught 71% of contested catches. That would be a career high number. He's on pace right now for a career high catch rate. Part of that, I'm sure, is just overall quarterback play with the Heineke's of the world and everybody else. But I do wonder if, we kind of need some more layup throws here to keep this sustainable. I think this week it's going to be great again because, well, it's the Panthers and that's kind of how it goes. But the quality of targets he's seeing as far as separation, layup throws, that kind of thing, he hasn't gotten those. And then after this week, he gets the Bears, Giants, and Steelers. So I'm worried about just a little regression here with the pass game in Washington, specifically with Terry.
Yeah, he's kind of been, it's one of those things, if you've watched Terry McLaurin over the last couple of years, that's a good wide receiver. Man, this just hasn't worked out, catches here and there. And contested catches or, you talked about tight window ones, it's like you feel the right side of variance right now and you're like, I've seen this not work out in the past. But overall, you could feel great about him as a wide receiver 2 for now. I don't think you should elevate him anything higher. And he's also been running hot on touchdowns, something that Terry's never done in his career. So, he's a hold, and he's under contract for next year, correct?
I believe so. I don't think he's a free agent. You look that up, Betz. I think he's been awesome, and I would have no problem trading high, either in redraft or in Dynasty. When you get 4 touchdowns in 4 games, you feel like he's going to be great forever. And that's not the truth. 2 of those 4 games, he was over 100 yards. 2 of those 4 games, he was 50 yards. You don't get that touchdown, you're not happy with the performance. And this is still a rookie quarterback. I know Jaden Daniels has been great, but Jaden Daniels is not going to go out there and throw for 35 to 40 touchdowns. I will be shocked if that happens by the end of the year. And that will, by the way, shatter the rookie touchdown record for a rookie quarterback. So this is, I think, a good trade high candidate, but it's not just a trade away candidate because his target share has still been very, very good. 21, 30, 33, 27, 28% going back from week 2 on. Week 1 was a dud. I kind of throw that out. If you remember the Commanders, they didn't do anything. They would not allow Jaden Daniels to go downfield at all. We thought this was this nerfed, weird offense and it was going to stick that way. They've opened it up for him. So since week 1, he's on pace for 132 targets, which is not wide receiver 1 great numbers, but it's still a really healthy, great, wide receiver 2 numbers.
Yeah,
right,
he is
Jason.
under contract for next year, and then he's a free agent in 2026.
Okay. All right.
There you go. So the player I wanted to look at, I for dynasty purposes, I wanted to go with someone young, someone whose value has been high and low and everywhere in between, and he's coming off a subpar game in the box score. Jackson, Smith, and Jigba, 9 targets, but only 5 for 53. And so I went back and I watched every single one of those targets. I watched all of his routes. I watched him on the all-22. And he's a good wide receiver. Like, that's what I walked away going, this is a good wide receiver. Here's the downside, almost exclusively in the slot. Like, his utilization is still disappointing to me because when they go downfield, it can work. He's not a player that does not have the boundary ability. The problem is he doesn't have the boundary opportunity because you got DK Metcalf and you got Tyler Lockett, and they'll move him around a little bit. But for the most part, that kind of locks him into a lesser fantasy role. However, when you watch the context of the game, he came up with some of the biggest and most important plays for them when their offense was struggling against a good San Francisco 49ers defense, and he had not one but two end zone targets, not like red zone targets. These were shots for a touchdown in the end zone, one of which was perfectly timed. Great pass by Geno, great timing on the jump from JSN, locks his hands on it, and the defensive player just made a perfect punch out. And I mean, it was just like great quarterback, great wide receiver, great defense, didn't come down with the touchdown, whatever. But when I watch the plays, he's super involved in the offense, super important to the offense, which he wasn't last year. And he's good. The way he moves, the way he can get yards after the catch, his routes, his ability to sit down in a zone. I watch and I go, that's a quality wide receiver. So I'm pretty fine taking a look at what he did and saying that was a good game. It didn't work for fantasy against a good defense, but brighter days should be ahead for JSN.
It's still a slow burn if you have JSN. I have him in the Ballers Main Dynasty League. And every single week, he feels like he's still a wide receiver 3 flex play. Like, it's not like you're like super confident, and yet You're seeing these targets, and especially the end zone targets. I'm glad you brought that up because that's kind of been a Geno staple. It's been a DK Metcalf staple too. Is like they throw the ball when the wide receiver's standing in the paint. It's like these are really high valuable targets, and he'll come down. And when he's in the slot, you mentioned like there's shot plays where he's not just running 2 yards. It's like they can have these plays. They've done it with Lockett. So he's not even 23. We still have a lot of time. But I did want to kind of compare him because I feel like he's still a name that's like he's young enough, and yet people are still trying to figure out, do I like bail on him? Is this the best we're ever going to see? So I'm going to give you guys a couple of names for JSN, and you tell me who you'd rather have in Dynasty. Would you rather have JSN or T. Higgins?
JSN.
That's
Dynasty.
Dynasty. Super close.
Yeah, it is very, very close. In a redraft, I'd rather have T.
Yeah, without knowing where T's playing next year, I guess I lean JSN.
All right, would you rather have JSN or Xavier Worthy?
JSN.
I feel like Worthy maybe has the higher ceiling potential, but I think JSN is going to be rock solid for the next 5+ years. So I'll lean JSN, but if you wanted to shoot for the moon, I think that's fine.
Seattle's interesting because Geno is a candidate to get extended this offseason. Lockett did get money this past offseason. DK's under contract. It's like they still have the crew together. And with Grubb, I'm assuming like year 2 in the system's going to look a little different, or hopefully they'll grow. I just feel like there's still a lot of great things, a lot of continuity. They're number 1 in pass rate. I mean, if I told you beginning of the season, like this team throws the ball more than any other team, you'd be like, I want that player. I want a young wide receiver on a team that throws the ball.
I think you want all the Seahawks right now. I mean, Geno's touchdown rate right now is 2.4%. He leads the league in passing. That's just not going to sustain, right? Like, he's going to throw way more touchdowns this year. He has exactly 1 in every single game, which is very funny. He'll have multi-touchdown games, and all these guys are going to benefit as a result. So whether it's redraft or dynasty, like I really want to get some Seahawks for the stretch run here.
For context, last year was a down year for Geno in his touchdown rate. Previous 2 years is 5.3, 5.2% touchdown rate. And then last season was down to 4%. And that was the disappointing part with Geno. Geno actually played all right. He's down at 4%, which is just slightly below league average. He's at 2% right now, 2.4. So yeah, I mean, that's not gonna stick long term. He's going to throw more touchdowns.
All right, a couple more names: JSN or Zay Flowers in Dynasty.
Zay Flowers.
Zay. Okay, I'm trying to find the right. Okay, let me give you one more veteran. Would you rather have JSN or Chris Godwin in Dynasty?
Oh man!
Because right now in redraft, that's obviously no question.
Oh, it's clearly no question. It's Chris Godwin. He's been a revelation.
Godwin.
I'll say JSN for Dynasty, but man, Godwin's been incredible.
I mean, I think you've got to take this in the context of your team. And that's not a cop-out answer. I think it's the correct answer. This is one where if I'm a championship contender and I've got JSN and I've got to move the needle to, like, push my team over the top this year, I think I would trade him for Godwin. But in a vacuum, like if it was a startup draft, a dynasty startup draft, I would definitely draft JSN ahead of Godwin, being 23 versus 28 years old. But there is a situation where a team is better served trying to get a championship with Godwin than with JSN this year, because what it's going to take for JSN to provide you what Chris Godwin has been providing you is an injury ahead of him. I don't think he's going to kick Tyler Lockett out of the boundary role and take over that position without an injury. Now, he got two ways to get injured. That is one nice thing with JSN is he's in a three-headed beast here of great wide receivers. So it's not like Lockett has to get injured. Metcalf could get injured. Either one gets injured, and all of a sudden you're going to have 10-plus targets every single game, and more importantly, slightly deeper depth of target for JSN this season. But I think that's the right context.
Selfishly, I had that exact decision. JSN, Godwin, contending, and we decided just to stay with JSN.
Of course you did, because you're not actually contending. I know your league. I know your roster. You're not actually contending. That's the right choice for you. A couple years from now, you will say a couple years from now.
It's tough being a team that's rebuilt, and then you're kind of like maybe a little ahead of your curve of like where you thought you'd be. And it's kind of like the rest of your league just kind of goes, oh, that's cute. That's cute.
No, guys... it's not the rest of our league. It's the entire league, including you, in the sense that I know that you guys had a timeline of like, we're going to tear this thing down to the nubs and build it back up, and in a couple years we'll be good. Then a lot of your players hit, and you're good now. But you guys have already chosen several times with trades I've seen offered to you guys when Christian McCaffrey was being floated in the offseason of like, look, maybe it's time to take your team from the conceptual rebuild, which you were, into saying, we got the pieces. We can go do this thing now. And you guys have chosen on your own to say we're not quite there yet. I've seen those transactions happening. Rewind the tape. I think it was probably the wrong thing for you.
Oh,
I think you guys were there and you could have been a contender, but with the choices you made, play a little bit for the next year, maybe next year.
Betz, did you just feel like my dad just told me like, hey,
that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, you just had to sit down with your dad, and he was like, hey, listen, son, I'm really proud of you for trying, but next year, man,
sometimes dad's got to give wisdom. Sometimes wisdom is doled out by the father, and so you're welcome, Kyle.
Don't forget
your father.
We traded for Kyron Williams. That was a great move.
Oh, so you're in it.
Move. Oh,
yes,
we're in
was.
it. We are so in it. You don't even know.
Okay.
All right. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll do this draft. We are back, and we are going to get into a rookie draft redo where we go through the first two rounds, and we'll also get to compare our draft in May and kind of see where things change. So let's get into it.
Hey, rookie. Welcome to the NFL.
All right. I am looking at the consensus rookie picks that we made in May. Mike was on this podcast, and so I'll kind of refer to those, and you guys can kind of say, like, at the time, maybe what we were thinking, and then I'll let us do the picks. The order is going to be Jason, Betz, and then myself, and we'll just kind of go through that order. Also, if you guys are like, hey, I'm deciding between a couple of guys, we'll talk about that. But the 101, Jason, you made this pick back in May, and it was Marvin. I made this same exact pick in a one-quarterback league. So tell me why you might have changed your mind.
Well, who says I've changed my mind? I'm a Cardinals fan. Marvin Harrison Jr., worthy of the number one pick. And I actually do think he is worthy of the number one pick as far as the discussion goes. I think there are three players that you can argue wholeheartedly deserve the number one pick in a dynasty rookie startup. I won't say who the third player is because we'll get there eventually. Maybe he'll drop to 4 for me with my next pick. But to be honest, I will take at the 101 not Marvin Harrison. I'll take Malik Neighbors. What we've seen on the field, the twitchiness, the explosiveness, it fits today's NFL. He's got so much Jamar Chase in him. He's got so much week winning domination upside, which we've seen. Unfortunately, they have overused him to the point of his body and head being forced to break by being tackled 700,000 times in 4 weeks. But long term, you've got a good argument that Marvin Harrison is still the better prospect because he's connected to a competent quarterback. Daniel Jones, I'll be shocked if he is the quarterback in Week 17 of this season. And so you just don't know what the future looks like. However, with Daniel Jones, I mean, we're saying that as in like you don't know that things might get worse from Daniel Jones. I mean, that's not a super high bar to cross, so things could get better for Malik Neighbors. But I think what we've seen on the field, he would be my number one pick. He's just been dominating NFL defenses and looking the part of an alpha.
I looked up this stat. I was like, okay, so how integral has he been to this offense? Because you can kind of look at running backs and say like opportunities, and then you can look at wide receivers and see targets, and you're like, okay, well, he's got a lot of targets. He's had 44% of the team's receiving yards in his games. Last year, Tyreek, who was, off the charts great, was 40%. So he's been better on a per game basis to this offense than what Tyreek was to the Dolphins last year. And to your point, Jason, let's say it's a little worse. Let's just throw it out there. It's a little worse than Daniel Jones. That's still freaking awesome. Like, yeah, even if it drops off a little bit, it's still off the charts great.
Now, if it goes down to like a Skylar Thompson, I mean, you can see there is a level where it doesn't matter if you're Tyreek Hill or Jaden Waddle. You are able to be irrelevant, but I don't think that is the future for him. And the nice thing is he's young enough where, okay, if it goes backwards, then that'll probably only be 1 year. They can't go backwards much further and not have the first pick overall for a quarterback. So should be able to be brighter days ahead. So yeah, Malik Neighbors, 101. Betz, you're the 102.
Yeah, when I logged in and saw that I was the second pick, I was like, okay, this is nice. I can just, cruise on the first pick because whoever Jason doesn't take, I will take. And so I will take Marv here. I personally think it's Neighbors. I think he's just a superstar. Not that Marvin Harrison won't be or isn't, but just with what you've seen in the first month and a half of the season, Neighbors' target earning ability has been insane. He just looks the part. Marv has looked good and special at times, but it's just kind of taken a little longer to get there. So I would still be super excited to have him and really happy to have him on my team, but I lean Neighbors. But with the 102, this is an easy Marvin Harrison Jr. for me.
Easy for you. Would that have been easy for you, Kyle?
I have him at 2, and
okay. I do as well, but it wasn't easy.
No, it wasn't easy, and just like behind the scenes, I've had Marv in both the League of Record and in Dynasty for the Ballers. So like Marvin Harrison Jr. is everything to me in Footballers universe and how we play things. But man, it feels tough to feel the volatility of him so far because you are getting these really high value targets. He has 6 end zone targets. That's tied for third most in the league. So those matter, except you're kind of experiencing this week to week feeling of, man, am I going to get 30 yards or am I going to get 120 yards? Like, it doesn't feel like there's kind of this middle area. So I wanted to ask you, Jason, as a Cardinals fan, like, is there something about this offense, and maybe it's just Drew Petzing, that's just like, bad, like broken, dumb? I don't know how to describe it.
So we talk about that from time to time around here. We're all Cardinals fans. We watch everything closely, and Andy thinks it's a Petzing problem that he needs to be fired. I'm not 100% sure whether it's Kyler or Drew Petzing, and it kind of blows my mind at how some games, like against the Rams, Kyler can look like he has this anticipation and sees the entire field so well it's unbelievable. But there are weeks like when I go back and I watch the film and I'm just like, it feels like Kyler can't see the field. And that's not like a short thing like he can't see over his line. It's like he's not taking it all in and not seeing good plays available elsewhere. And so I don't know. It's probably a combination of the both of them. There is something broken. There is something that is not clicking yet. But that doesn't mean that it can't be fixed. I don't look at this after 6 weeks, where we have had, 2 really big, great performances and say, yeah, they can figure it out. This is still This is still 6 weeks with Marv, and it's not even a full season for Kyler in this system.
Yeah, just to put some numbers to that too. In weeks 1 and 2, they were awesome. 34.5 points per game. That was second. They averaged 61 plays per game. They were in the red zone way more. Since then, 16 points per game. That's 28th. Their plays per game are down. They've only been in the red zone for 12 snaps per game. So it's tough to be fantasy relevant and have a good offense when you can't get in scoring position. I'd also say one other thing on Marv that we didn't really touch on, but just Trey McBride looks awesome. And he's dominating targets, 25+% target share in every game that he has played in full, if you take out the one that he left early. So not that Marv can't also be great too with McBride. It's just that you need the offense to be more efficient. You need Kyler to be more efficient for those two, to hit at the same time. So that's why I would lean Neighbors, because just for the next year plus, no question, like he is the offense. There's no one else there.
I also
all right, Kyle.
I need to add this though. Quietly, I think Michael Wilson is like an actual NFL wide receiver. Like he's not just some dude running around. I think he's legitimate.
And don't get me started on Greg Dortch. That guy can play.
I don't care about Dortch. I'm just saying Wilson opposite him, like he's a starting NFL wide receiver. I'm not saying he's great, but like he does take away opportunities. He's been fine. So at 3, I'm debating between 2 guys, but I have a guy that I was thinking if I was in a draft right now and I knew what I knew right now, at number 3, I would take Brock Bowers.
Yeah, of course you would. This is a player that, you can make a very legitimate positional scarcity argument that he should be the 101 above Malik Neighbors, who has been unbelievably dominant. If you could go back in time and draft a Travis Kelce before a 7 or 8 year run of dominance, well, is there anybody really like over the last 8 years who has been a better fantasy football asset than Travis Kelce? I don't think there is one.
Devontae Adams.
McCaffrey's lost. Okay, Devontae Adams is up there.
Maybe.
He's had some bad seasons, but with
Kelce in your lineup though, like you knew you're winning your matchup almost every week. You just can't match it.
It's unbelievable.
You can't match him at tight end.
Our champ league where we won back-to-back championships, Mike and I, in Dino Jr., that we got Kelce there. That's not an accident. So at 3, this is an easy pick for me. I think it is difficult at 1 and 2 because these 3 guys, and there's an easy 4th. I'm on the clock here for 4. I'm going to put Jaden Daniels in at 4.
Ooh.
It's a single quarterback league, and so you don't necessarily need quarterbacks as much as you need running backs and wide receivers. But he's literally the quarterback 1 right now. Like he is the best so far early in his career. I think there's room for improvement. He looks the part. He runs the part. And so for fantasy purposes, what more do you want than the guy scoring the most fantasy points? So to get him at 4 would be good, but the positional scarcity between him and quarterbacks you can get, tight ends, there's not a lot of Brock Bowers out there. And even though this year we came in going like, okay, finally there's 5 or 6 legitimate weekly guaranteed starts and Dalton Kincaid and Mark Andrews and Sam Laporta. It's like, what is happening? Now it's Trey McBride, George Kittle, maybe Kelce, hopefully Kelce going forward without Rashee Rice, and Brock Bowers. So yeah, he's the right pick. I totally jumped on you. Anything else you want to add there, Kyle, on your Brock Bowers pick?
Yeah, I just want to say leads all tight ends in first read targets, and you see that. When you watch the game, you go, he should be the first read. We know he's going to be the first read with Devontae out. 64 receiving yards per game is awesome for a tight end. So I think the conversation we'll have in the offseason is how high does he go in startups? If you're in your tight end premium leagues or whatever, it's like, he's going to be good for a long time. I don't even care who the quarterback, like we're starting at Gardner Minshew and AOC. That's the starting point.
Yeah, he had AOC this last week, which I think is worse than Gardner, and he was better. Like you're already so low. Devontae Adams is off the roster. This is a 10 target a week tight end who is more talented than other tight ends who might sneak out 10 targets. David Njoku can get 10 targets. He ain't going to do with it what Brock Bowers can do, and Brock Bowers is a little bitty baby boy in a Superman body. So over the next couple of years, can you imagine when Brock Bowers is 27, which is a long time from now? He's just going to be tossing these grown men around.
Baby Superman. That's where he's at this point in his career. I did want to throw this in with Jaden Daniels. You took him at 4, which I had him at 5, so it's right around there, Jason. He went 12 in our mock draft, and I think in a lot of leagues he went the end of the first round. So if you drafted him there, you are just loving life that you got a top 4 quarterback in Dynasty at the end of the first round.
Well, who drafts at 12, Kyle?
I don't know. I got him in our Ballers League.
I'm just saying, usually the team drafting at 12 is the one that won the championship. And so for all these championship Dynasty rosters who got the luxury of adding Jaden Daniels to their league-winning team, whoo, baby, you're good. Now you go and you trade whatever other quarterback you had for a haul because they were obviously good enough to win a championship. If you got Hurts or Josh Allen or whoever got you there last year, Joe Burrow. Well, not Joe Burrow, he was injured. But whoever it was, that's a lot of ammunition at the back of the first.
Okay. Now, this is the part where it gets interesting because there's 2 guys here that I think are in play, and I'm stuck on like my priors as far as evaluation with what we've seen so far. And for me, I'm debating Brian Thomas Jr. or Rome Odunze. And at the time, in the spring, it was like, okay, Rome is the 9th overall pick. Obviously, he's the guy. You take him first. But I'm not sure Brian Thomas Jr. is that far behind anymore. And just what we've seen from his target earning ability and just like true alpha status, I think I'm going to make him the pick here. To me, it's a coin flip, so I wouldn't fault anyone going the other way. But I think Brian Thomas Jr. is the pick for me here at the 6th overall pick or 5th overall pick? 5th BTJ
overall pick. I have Brian Thomas Jr. as my 5th overall rookie startup player. So I was right here with you. I have him ahead of Odunze. He's looked better than Odunze, and I don't think you can completely just blame the fact that he's got a rookie quarterback because Trevor Lawrence hasn't been playing. In fact, you could argue Caleb Williams has been playing better than Trevor Lawrence. But on the field, the type of routes, the body positioning, the separation, Brian Thomas Jr. looks like a better player than Odunze.
Yeah,
that's fair.
I'm going to take Odunze just to make it simple. I had him at 6. I actually had Thomas at 4, and I wouldn't blame anybody if they want to take him there. But with Odunze, I talked last week that I think he's a player that's kind of getting lost in this rookie shuffle of like, he just hasn't been as good. He had one blow-up game. I think he still looks good. It's just going to take some time. So if you took Odunze at 103, which is where he went in a lot of drafts, like you don't have to feel bad or, man, this isn't, it's early. And it took Caleb, 3 weeks just to figure out how to play NFL football. And you saw this past week, like it could blow up. It was the Jaguars, by the way, in London. It was they're so bad. They are so bad at defense. I was yelling at the screen because they're just so bad. But Odunze at 6. And I think this is where it gets tough, Jason.
So it's not where it gets tough for me yet because at 6, I have a different player.
Ooh.
And that was where it was tough. Between 6 and 7, I was like, man, who would I really pick? If I'm staring down the barrel, who would I pick here? And I don't blame anyone for taking Odunze, but it was a teammate connection. It was Caleb Williams or Rome Odunze. And here's what I know. Caleb Williams is the starter for years. Just for years. He's the future. If Odunze is to be good, if like we look back 5 years from now, it's like Odunze is balling out. He's a great pick. You know who else is a great pick? Caleb Williams. And Caleb Williams, I think, can ball out without Odunze. So I put Caleb Williams one spot ahead. We saw this last week, that potential. We've seen the last 2 weeks. They're finally utilizing his legs and his scrambling and mobility. Like, that's what I want to see for fantasy. Caleb Williams is not a Jaden Daniels, a Kyler Murray, a just run like crazy quarterback, but he could be. He could be, and he shouldn't be. He's got too talented of an arm, but I want to see them utilize the weapons that he has in his legs as a dual threat for NFL defenses, and then that's so good for fantasy. So I've got Caleb. He showed me the last 2 weeks enough to believe that he will come to reality. You know, he was a very highly touted quarterback. I think it was justified. I do think it will take him some time, and he'll have more growing pains. Like in redraft, you know, I had Jaden Daniels ahead of Caleb from the get-go. I think it'll take Caleb a little bit longer, but I you know, if 3 years from now Caleb is better than Jaden Daniels, I don't think anyone will be surprised.
No, certainly not. All right, the 8th overall pick. This is tough, man. This is really tough.
Yeah, this to me is where it gets like you could argue for like 4 or 5 players.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at Worthy. I'm thinking about Jonathan Brooks, who hasn't taken a snap yet. There's a couple other guys. I think I'm going to lean Jonathan Brooks and just kind of go back to like what we saw with him at Texas. The way he plays is the way I want my running backs to score fantasy points. He can catch the football. He's pretty elusive. We haven't seen him on NFL field, obviously, yet. We're going to see him soon. He just got his 21-day window activated for the Panthers. But I don't think you're getting much sustained production even in November, December. Like, if it happens, great. But for me, this is just a pick based off, hey, this guy's going to have value in the offseason moving forward, and it's going to be his backfield next year. So I'll stick with Jonathan Brooks here at the 108 and take the running back.
He went 105 in our draft back in May, and I think for a lot of people, he was kind of in that 105 to about 108 range. And I think we all thought there'd be a little bit more, not saying he was going to like be on the field and dominate, but just like there'd be a little bit more news that we get excited. But the thought process was a year from now, Jonathan Brooks is going to be more valuable.
Let me ask you a question, Betz, because this time last year, the expectation was that he might be available for training camp. And then he should be ready for preseason action. Maybe he'll be ready to start the season. We're going to start him on the PUP. The PUP window is open after 4 weeks, still not activated. Now, I have no knowledge, no insider knowledge whatsoever, but there's only 2 lines of thinking. There's either we are going to let this player heal up until he is just fully 100% ready to go, like almost like they did with Kyler in Arizona, where it was like he could have come back and they waited until he was full strength. Or it's gone slower than they hoped. You know, they thought they would have him. I mean, that's a long gap in time when you're originally talking around the NFL draft that he might be ready for training camp. And now here we are going to week 7 and they're opening the window. What do you think medically? Like, is there a concern for setback or for poor recovery here?
I think that's unlikely. The worst thing in the world for these players is projecting when they could return in March. It's just, you can't do that. It's literally impossible. So like all the fluff pieces that were floated out there in March, February of like, you could be ready for training camp. It's impossible in the rehab world to do that. So I never really put much stock into that.
Don't we give timelines? Don't we know on an ACL, like it takes it is, 6 months, 9 months?
Yeah, so September was 9 months. He had surgery in December. September is 9 months. But expecting him to be on the field participating in training camp at 7.5 to 8 months after the surgery for a player that they took in the second round for a team that isn't going to win a lot of games makes zero sense. So I was kind of always hesitant to believe that. Not saying that I didn't expect him to be activated by now, but just I'm not that worried about it. I mean, you look at the context of the team. They know they're not winning the Super Bowl. You know, Canales knows his job is safe. Chuba's been good. Like, what's the point of loading this guy up with so many touches in the first 6 weeks of the season when you're not playing to win anything, right? Like, they know that. So I'm still confident in Jonathan Brooks. I haven't seen anything negative on his surgery or recovery. It was a clean ACL tear. So, you know, you might get some usable weeks for fantasy in late November, December when he's closer to a year out. But really, for me, it's always been a play for 2025 and beyond.
Okay.
Yeah. Is it one of those things where I know, like, for redraft and best ball, I'm like, okay, I have this player. I'm waiting. He's going to come in. He's going to be the second half hammer for my team. It's like, I just wanted something more. But like the long view and the dynasty view is kind of not changed at all for you, Betz. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you get some stuff from him at the end of the year this year, it's like, okay, great. But really, you always knew that the plan for him, when you envisioned taking him in a rookie draft, was like, okay, I know it's going to be a slow first year, but next season, that's when we're going to hit the ground running. And I think that's still the case.
All right. I'm here at the 109. I will take Xavier Worthy, who went 104 in our May. And I wouldn't say that we're disappointed in Worthy. I mean, like, let's be honest. After week 1, everybody was taking victory laps that he's the greatest player of all time. And since then, we're kind of seeing the usage as he's on the field. His route participation is fine. He's just not getting as many manufactured touches as we want. And they just went on by. So I think Worthy, he's only seen, 19 targets so far. I think you'd love to see a little bit more. And maybe you do with Rice being out. Maybe they extend it after the bye. They have some game plan stuff. But I think Worthy's been fine. Like, you're not mad. You're not disappointed. But I think at the end of the day, he's going to be a player you're not going to be able to count on every single week, right? Like, that's just not who he is, and that's not really how this team functions. So I'll take Worthy at 109.
Yeah, I think looking at Andy Reid's history with these rookie wide receivers, and we saw it last year with Rice, he's kind of always slow played it with everybody not named Deshaun Jackson, who now we know in hindsight was just an unbelievable talent at what he did. So it's not surprising to me that it's taken a while for Worthy, especially with Rashee Rice not getting suspended and Travis Kelce's still there. But if this team is going to make a Super Bowl run, like, he's got to be a part of it, I think, down the stretch. So yeah, I'm excited for what Worthy can do potentially. But he is a player that, you know, in the first 6 weeks-ish, and they had to bye, that you've seen like flashes that I think you'd be still excited to have him, but you're hopeful you see a lot more down the stretch here.
All right, so I'm up at am I 10, 9? What is this pick?
10.
Pick 10.
At 10, I'm going to take my number 9 player. I don't love the system. I worry about the long term. Like, is it ever going to become fun? But the player's great. He's looked great as a rookie. His quarterback's great. Ladd McConkey, baby. He's got a couple touchdowns already early on. He looks outstanding. Obviously, this is a team that wants to win in an egregious fashion for fantasy football, and that could nerf him. That could nerf him forever for his career. This is really, like, there is kind of a tier break here where there are gigantic warts on everyone left here. And so when I look at all the options and I'm going through the warts of all the players left, I'm not sure if the rest of the players on the board, I can't look at them and go, I know that player's good. I know he is absolutely an outstanding NFL wide receiver or an absolutely outstanding NFL running back or whatever. I know that with Ladd. He's great. If the system ever needs him and opens it up, I think he'll be very good. So I'll take him here at 10.
I wonder if Ladd like goes to the coach's office, like, hey, do you guys need me this week? Like, do you guys maybe think that like this could be the week where you?
No, he doesn't, and this is part of the problem. And it works perfect for Harbaugh because it wouldn't work the other way.
Yeah.
But I remember being upset about early camp reports about how kind of quiet and shy and reserved Ladd was. He's not like a demand the ball type of player verbally. You know, you look at when Marvin Harrison Jr. was drafted and Marvin Harrison Sr. was interviewed next to him, and I don't know if you guys remember those videos. Dad is coaching him. What do you do if you have a bad game? You know, what's your response? There was some question like that Marv Jr. was being asked, and Dad's standing right there next to him. You know, what has Dad taught you? And Dad basically pipes up, you know, Hall of Famer, and says, you go in there and you demand the ball. You know, he is teaching his son to be a squeaky wheel, because I don't think that's inherent in Marvin Harrison Jr. He's not like the squeakiest wheel, but Dad will squeak for him. And you know, he carries a gold jacket, so he can squeak. Ladd's going to just go along. You know, there's a reason why in college he was behind Brock Bowers and was just fine. You know, he's great, but I wish he was squeaky. I wish he was a diva. I want him to, like, you know, just develop that I need the ball more, because he's good.
Yeah, you know, he wasn't a big time prospect in high school. He's from like North Georgia. A little bit smaller area. It's just
needs some ego, man. Someone sprinkle some ego on that boy.
Well, I did find out that he's averaging the same fantasy points per route run as Tyreek Hill, which is just sad for Tyreek. But
that's depressing.
I have him here too, Jason, at 9. So Betz, we have 2 more in the first round.
Yeah, this gets really ugly really quick. Ladd was kind of last guy in a little bit of a tier for me. I will take Drake Maye. We haven't seen much. We just talked about him obviously at length, but just he has the tools that I want in a fantasy quarterback, which is the ability to throw deep and scramble at the goal line. So I will take a shot here at the 11th pick on Drake Maye.
Yep. No shame in that. He went mid-second round in our draft in May, but I'm going to end this. So into the first round, I think there's a running back. There's a couple of them that I'm kind of looking at, and it's projecting a little bit, but I'm just going to stay with what I think. Rachaad White is toast. So I will take Bucky Irving here, because Trey Benson was the other running back that I thought about. So far, I haven't seen enough, so I'm still kind of projecting, but I will take Bucky Irving, who's been awesome and looks like an NFL running back, doesn't look small at all. I think we did a deep dive on him a couple weeks ago on the show. So where was he on for you guys?
He was around here. I've got him like 4 or 5 spots later. I really don't like the running backs in this draft class.
For sure.
I've got him right there with some other players. It's just like 4th round running backs, I don't buy in. I know he looks great. So did Dameon Pierce his rookie season. If this was redraft and I'm looking at someone I could start right now,
Jason.
I'm higher on Bucky Irving. He does look good though. He belongs in this tier. This is an area where you throw a name out there, make the argument for him. I won't blame anyone. I've got Blake Corum ahead of him just because I'm looking at like Dynasty perspective. I think that Kyren, I don't know if he gets another contract, and at some point Corum might be the heir apparent to, he might be the Kyren of the future. And so I'm kind of swinging for the fences there versus an undersized Bucky. But Bucky has looked good, and I don't blame you with the Rachaad White take. So does that mean I'm on the clock here?
I'm actually going to let you pause. We're going to take a break, and then we'll be right back, Jason. Yes. Now you're on the clock, Jason, at the top of round 2.
All right. Look, I know who I want, but I'm going to wait. I'm going to be appropriate. I'm going to let it happen. And instead, I'm going to take a rookie first-round NFL draft pick receiver. I'm going to take Xavier Legette. I have seen some flashes that look good. His hands are strong. I worry about the future of quarterback here. But he was always a potential prospect, a little raw. You know, he had 1 year of collegiate production after going to college for 2 master's degrees. At least that's how long. I think he must have gotten his doctorate with how long he was in college. But he's shown me enough on the field, and he has that NFL draft capital. He's got the body, the size, the athleticism where, you know, everyone here has warts. He has enough, green check marks as well to be someone that you can invest in here for fantasy. I can't in good conscience take the guy I want to take over these green check marks. So I'll let the guy I want to take keep falling.
Do you guys feel like we don't get enough quotes from him anymore? Like I feel like
I
he's dried up.
They haven't dried up. They're moving on to what's mattering on the field, and he's not mattering on the field right now. We got to just have him matter, and then we'll get a nice post-game interview where we can't understand it, but we smile.
The offseason of Keon and Xavier Legette was just phenomenal. Speaking of, I'm going to take Keon Coleman here.
Oh, I have no idea what to do with him.
You know, I don't know, man. They just traded for Amari Cooper. They played the same like perimeter role. I don't know. So I don't think you're going to get a ton of consistency this year.
Consistency maybe never, but I actually think, and let me give this argument, because this was breaking news the day we're recording this, the Amari Cooper trade to the Buffalo Bills. Now they've got their Stephon Diggs, or they've got their target earner. They've got the guy that can separate and run down the field and catch the ball. I think is a great move by the Bills. I think it's very good for Amari Cooper. And I believe, after what I've watched rookie season of Keon Coleman, I think this is a good move for Keon Coleman, because Keon Coleman is not the one. He's not. He is not a one. He's not a separator. He's not this guy that's going to go out there and demand targets. So does this stop Keon Coleman from developing into that alpha one? Yes. But if he never could in the first place, it's not necessarily bad for him. I think this allows him to develop into that big-bodied 2, a la the Gabe Davis role that we've seen be successful in the Bills offense. He is, Keon Coleman was not a player that projected to really be a true one in the NFL, but he has skill sets and attributes that I think are good. You just let him go down and find a spot in the painted area and give him a jump ball and let him come down with touchdowns, just like you did with Gabe Davis. He'll have, I think, in the future, a handful of 2 touchdown games per season. And so you could argue that he's a better pick than Xavier Legette just because he's part of the Bills offense.
I like that take. I think a lot of people, when they saw the Amari deal, myself included, the immediate reaction is like, this isn't good for Keon. But I like that take for the future. If Amari does stick around, put him in that wide receiver 2 role. Let's get MBS off the field. Let's get the Mac Hollins routes out of here, and get these talented players on the field. So I like that take. I think that's what a lot of people are not thinking about, but it's a contrarian take that I think is savvy.
They have to move him from just being outside. Like he's ran 7 routes so far in the slot. And that was like our biggest bugaboo too, is like they talked him up as an X after the draft. Is it Brandon Bean? Is their GM?
Yep.
And was talking him up as like, okay, this is where he is. He's going to be an X. It's like, that doesn't really work. What would work is a power slot role where you use him kind of like how the Falcons have used Drake London. Is like, you're big, we want to move you there, but like 5% of his snaps so far. That's like not going to cut it. So I need some creative use. And I agree, it can work, Jason. His biggest thing was like, he didn't command targets in college. He hasn't really commanded targets. No one has really in that offense. And now you're bringing in an alpha. So in the short term, it sucks. Like,
yeah,
people took him. Let's see where he went in our draft. 107 is where he went in our draft. Like, you can't start Keon Coleman right now.
Nope.
Right?
But maybe next year.
No, you can't start Keon Coleman. No way. I mean, you can start Keon Coleman when your team is chock full of injuries and you have no idea, because he does have the ability. I had him in my DFS lineup a couple weeks ago when he got the 50-yard touchdown. He's, you could throw him in as a prayer, but he's not someone that we can't recommend you should start Keon Coleman. He hasn't established that at all yet.
All right. I'm at 203. I have 3 running backs. I'm going to flip a 3-sided coin because I have no idea which one of these, based on what we've seen so far, is going to be way better. If you wanted to play for next year, you can just say it's Trey Benson, like he was a first-round pick in May. I'm just going to go there. I don't know if I'm wimping out, but it hasn't looked good in his limited touches. You've also seen a lot more of like Imari DiMarcado in passing downs work, which is kind of annoying. But Connor's not under contract next year, and it's a dart throw.
It's a dart throw. I get it. Let me tell you. And I was Trey Benson was my running back 1 coming into the NFL draft. Loved the film. The power, the size speed combination. Was ecstatic to see him come to the Arizona Cardinals as a Cardinals fan and see, James Conner's not under contract. The future is there, bright, rosy, all that. This is a terrible pick, Kyle. This is a terrible pick.
I've told you he hasn't looked good.
And you are not wrong. So throughout camp, being here in Arizona, throughout camp, the buzz was like, he looks bad. He's just bad. He's not good. And then you start the season, and he's not even really the 2. He's kind of the 2, but like you said, Imari DiMarcado's more the passing downs guy. One of the big knocks on Trey Benson in college, and I saw it, and it was true, and sometimes it matters when you translate to the NFL. And most of the time it matters, but sometimes it doesn't, depending on what team you land in, what system, all those things. But he has terrible vision. He has great athleticism, but he is making the bad decisions over and over and over. The drumbeat against him has been constant. Like, I think the Cardinals are really trying to make it work, and they really, really can't. He is failing in this system. And also, with how good James Conner has been, with knowing how Arizona works, I fully expect at this point James Conner to get an extension. Don't hear what I'm not saying. I would never do that if I was the general manager of the Arizona Cardinals. Love James Conner, and he has been great.
Cardinals move.
I'm saying the Cardinals will extend James Conner. So this is one of those where it's like, if James Conner leaves, you have a chance with Trey Benson next year where he could show us what he showed us in college, and maybe he's great. He will get the opportunity, and this would then be a good pick. I don't think that happens. If he doesn't get the opportunity next year, his outlook is just poopy
So
pants.
Would you trade him away now while he still has perceived next year value? Because everyone that took him was like, okay, in 2025 when Connor's gone, he's the dude. Would you trade him for an early second right now?
I don't know how much you're going to get for him. I don't know if you'll get an early second. I might do that for an early second if I knew. But right now, we're not far enough in the season to know you're going to get an early second. And I would doubt it wouldn't blow my mind, but I would doubt that you're going to get a David Montgomery mid-season extension situation. So if you exit this season, that's when you're not going to want to trade him away. because you're going to be like, James Conner's not under contract. He's a free agent. And before free agency opens up, before people are being re-signed, that's where I think you'll get someone to pay up and say, hey, I think this guy's going to be the starting running back for the Arizona Cardinals. Trade him then, you'll get more. That would be what I would do.
Yeah, that makes sense on the timing. We're going to speed up a little bit. Jason, you were at the 204.
Do I have permission?
You have
Wait,
the stones.
Is Blake Corum still out there?
Yeah, you can take Blake Corum.
Oh, okay. Then, yeah, if Blake Corum's there, I would not draft the guy I want above Blake Corum. This is another play for the future situation. Kyron hasn't really been able to stay healthy most of his career, so not that James Conner has. But I do think the valuable role of McVay's running back one exists, and so I'll take the future prospect for Corum.
Okay, I think this is the right area for Slick Rick, as they call him, or as Kyle calls him. And just you pray that the draft capital matches a good offense, and maybe Debo's gone next year. This is where I'll take the shot on Ricky Pearsall, who we have no idea, truthfully, if he's good, but somewhere in the middle of the second round feels about right.
No idea what to do with him, and that's okay, because we haven't seen him on the field. So I don't mind going here. I think I had him like 2 spots lower. So, yeah. I'm going to throw out that I think there's a running back that you're still projecting in the future, but in the limited amount that I've seen, I think Jalen Wright belongs in the NFL. Like, I think he's looked good for the Dolphins limited. He's bigger. He can avoid tackles, and it's been a really small sample size, but you're playing for the future. You're saying Achane just can't stay on the field. And hopefully this offense works itself out. So he's somewhere in this nebulous second round somewhere.
All right. It's time, boys.
Do it. Just do it.
It's time. Look, you're going to get a lot of groans from people out there. I'm still a believer. And if we did this draft last week, it wouldn't even be allowed in the entire of the second round.
I wrote the name in already.
Hey, it's Franklin. Troy Franklin, who is playing his way onto the field. Peyton came out this week and said, there's a young team. We've got to get our young players out there. He named Franklin by name that he wants to have him more involved. Last week, he dropped a 50-yard bomb touchdown where he was wide open. That's a shame, but he had that opportunity. I think if he came down with that last week and then this week had the touchdown, this week he's been playing in the teens of snaps. This week he jumped to 65% of snaps and had a touchdown. Bo Nix looks okay, and obviously there's that connection from college. I believe Troy Franklin is a very talented wide receiver. His collegiate data was awesome. He is struggling to transition to the NFL, but if he can turn that corner, I mean, we're in a place with a bunch of poopy pants. If he can turn that corner, I still believe that his upside is there. So I wanted to be the one that drafts him. And last time around, I believe, Kyle, you got to take that L.
Yeah. What's funny is I took him like 1 spot below, and yeah, 2 weeks ago, this looks like the worst pick in the world. And, but yeah, I mean, I want it to work. My heart does.
Yeah.
I've also traded him away. Betz, 208.
Okay, we're at the range where you're throwing darts here, and I'm just going to take a guy that I've seen on the field and I think is pretty good, and that's Braylon Allen. Obviously, with Breece there, it's hard to give him a ceiling case, but if Breece would go down, this dude has workhorse written all over him. So I'll take Braylon Allen here in the middle of the second.
Yeah, and then you can show him that, eventually he can, buy a drink or something else. You can teach him what to do.
Next year. Yeah, this offseason.
Yeah, that'll be good for your team. There's some other running backs that are kind of interesting. I'm just going to take Bo Nix here. I feel like he's been not bad, not great, but he also has been showing an ability to run a little bit. I think this is where he would belong in a 1-quarterback league. So Bo Nix at the 209. Jason, we've got 3 more picks.
He's on pace for over 500 rushing yards. The last 2 weeks, he's been a top 10 quarterback not just because of his rushing. 1 week because of his rushing, 1 week not. I think this is where he belongs. If I'm up, I'm going to take Roman Wilson, a player I still believe in the talent. He hasn't played a snap yet. I don't believe in the NFL. Maybe was he active this last week? I don't remember. He didn't do anything. But he's been injured his entire rookie season so far. This is the rookie wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Looks like they're going to transition over to Russell Wilson, which should be better for the passing game than Fields. And Roman Wilson has speed, has good hands, has good draft capital, and was drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers, who, generally speaking, they know what they're doing with wide receivers.
He played 7% of the snaps, so probably
so he did make it on the field.
Okay. This is a tricky spot, as all these are at this point.
Tell me all the players in your mind, because the big names are Adonai Mitchell, who is I'm not really excited about, and we weren't excited about in the pre-draft process, but he plays football apparently.
Like Mitchell's in play, Ray Davis, Tyrone Tracy. Those are kind of the names that I was looking at.
What about JJ McCarthy?
That's who I'm going to go with.
We've already got
JJ.
That's who you're going with. Okay, well then,
I'm going to go with McCarthy. I mean, we don't know if he's good. We saw him in the preseason for.
We know Sam Darnold's not good, and poof, he's great.
Nick Mullins was chucking for 400 yards last year in games with Kevin O'Connell. So when he steps into the field next year, fully healthy, he'll have the best wide receiver in football, arguably. Jordan Addison is a very good wide receiver too, and TJ Hawkinson is pretty dang good at tight end. So I will trust the system and go with McCarthy here.
Yep. I'm in a one quarterback league where I traded back into the second round to get McCarthy basically at the same exact spot. And obviously you're taking a whole redshirt year, but I would be happy just to say, hey, this offense has moved forward. We still like Kevin O'Connell. So I'm with you. All right, last pick. A couple of dudes I am looking at. Tyrone Tracy is a running back that I think makes sense here. He's been electric with the ball in his hands. Ray Davis. Marshawn
Lloyd.
If you would have told me Jalen Polk is like on the fringe, I'd be like,
I mean, honestly, I'm going to be honest, taking Troy Franklin ahead of Jalen Polk makes no sense historically speaking. A second-round wide receiver for now a new rookie quarterback playing. Jalen Polk should be the pick here.
Yeah, except for his coach hates him.
He wasn't good at blocking. That doesn't mean he can't get good at blocking.
It took Jameson Williams 2 years because he didn't block. So I think Polk is right there. I did want to give a little bit of love to Theo Johnson, the tight end, because he's the starting dude, and it's really hard to do that as a rookie. 5th most routes run among all tight ends in the NFL. He's athletic. So I think that he's at least a name that I want to throw out there. Any other last names? So I'll put Polk in, and I'll post this on the website. But any other names you want to throw out real quick?
I mentioned Tyrone Tracy. He's interesting as like a bench running back to see what happens in the future there. We mentioned Davis. I mean, the Senator.
It goes. Yeah, I mean, from here on out, it just goes to
so far.
The Senator has fallen, but I still think that's actually a good future. Despite what Sam Laporta and Brock Bowers have done, rookie tight ends are usually irrelevant. I'm not worried about the Senator yet, especially while Zach Ertz is there.
Also, Eric All, who we talked about as a trade target last week, I think, is just like hey, for next season, he could be the guy for Joe Burrow. I think he's interesting in this kind of back of the second.
Audric Estime is coming back. We could look at the end of the season and say he should have been drafted. Luke McCaffrey is on the field, has a touchdown or two. Yeah, there's names, but once you get to the third round, it's pretty much 1 out of 12 is going to hit.
Yep.
This exercise helped me realize that my late seconds and my thirds routinely are just not going to hit. They're just not.
Yeah.
So like if somebody's trying to trade me 2/3 for a player, it's like, does that really move me if they're trying to get Kareem Hunt? It's just not really my kind of trade, Jason. So
okay. Hey, you know what? Mike asked and I said, give him 2/3. I go, they're worth nothing. I said, they're worth nothing. I give them 100 thirds.
All right. We'll see you again next week.
Thanks for listening to the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty Podcast. If you want to take your dynasty skills to the next level, check out thefantasyfootballers.com.